Welcome to the 10-Minute Tuesday. Today we're going to talk quickly about a place that we're all familiar with, the desert, the wilderness. Many of the prophets, Moses, the Israelites ran through the wilderness because they disobeyed. They walked for 40 years in a circle. But in the wilderness, in the dry times that we've experienced in our lives, in the dry times we've experienced in the last 40 days almost, it seems, that the desert is valuable. I love the wilderness. I love going out in the rugged, the raw, just the natural landscape that doesn't afford comfort. Because the reason I like that is it teaches you so many lessons of who you are, what you're capable of, what you're not capable of. That is the wilderness. That is the reason we need to get into the wilderness and not to live by the green pastures of Psalms 23 all the time. We need to have the wilderness in order to appreciate the green pastures and the water. We've got to go through the wilderness. Some of us make their homes in the wilderness. I love the wilderness. I love being in a climate where not many people like to be. That's me. But every so often we need to go into the wilderness. And Jesus goes in Matthew chapter 4, when Jesus was led up by the Spirit, God led him into the wilderness. His Father led him into a dry place. Whether we did it by our own choices, sometimes we wind up in the wilderness by taking wrong directions. And sometimes God intentionally pushes us to the wilderness. And when Jesus was led up by the Spirit in the wilderness, he was tempted by the devil. This is Matthew chapter 4. And the tempter said to him, "If you are Son of God, command these stones to become bread. Cast yourself off this cliff. The angels will catch you. Sell your kingdoms to me, and I'll give you everything in this world." See, the wilderness is a place where we learn who we are. The wilderness is a place of testing. You know, the Hebrew is very, very interesting. If you look at it, it's midbar. And dig into that. It means the place of the mouth. The place. What happens with the mouth? What's the purpose of the mouth? Ingestion for nutrients. And what am I doing now? I'm talking to you. I'm speaking. A lot of the ancients believed the wilderness is a place where God speaks. Midbar. That is why we need wilderness. It shuts all the noise around us. The sky at night is every star you can see for miles. It's quiet. That is why we need the midbar. To silence everything that's going around us. The calls of, hey, come here, come there, follow this, follow this. To silence ourselves, to learn what valuable lessons silence can teach us in the wilderness. Because Paul ran to the wilderness. He ran out to the rock of Horeb. He went back to the place where Moses struck the rock. He went back to the quiet desolation. Too many of us have the need for social interaction. And we're geared that way. Some of us don't need social interaction or fine being hermits. But we need social interaction. So to live in the wilderness like a Bedouin, those nomad farmers, they still had a community. That is what the wilderness, they knew how to strive through the wilderness, survive in the wilderness, thrive in the wilderness. That's what we typically do in life. We strive in things. We have to survive or we thrive. We can't just start out thriving. That produces no fruit, because once the fruit goes, the quick grow up of the return on the investment, what happens? Fast money is worthless money. You want something that's going to grow over time to accumulate something big. That's why we have to strive. We have to learn to survive. And then once we get those two together, we can learn how to thrive. That's the lesson of the wilderness, that we can get away and learn who we are. Jesus knew who he was, and he had to learn who he was through temptation. He had to learn who he was through deception. Satan tried to deceive him, to get him to utilize things that he has laid down, that if he would pick up, he would have failed the lesson. And who knows what would have happened then if the Messiah would have done this. It's almost theologically incomprehensible to try to even fathom the recourse. But the desert teaches us who we are. It is a place where we go to in the desolation and listen, learn, and grow. So the lesson is look for the wilderness. Look for the dry places. Take some time. Get uncomfortable. Take some time. Think differently. Take some time. Reassess the things you hold dear. The sacred cows that we have created in life. The things that we have made trophies for. The things that we have so honored in society. Take a step into the desert and realize that most of those things are worthless. What we prize and what we idolize become very irrelevant in the climates of the desert. A refrigerator does zero good in the desert unless you've got a long extension cord. But you have to learn how to prepare food in the desert differently. You just don't have the convenience. That is the beautiful thing of the desert. It teaches us how to live in inconvenience. The lessons that grow from inconvenience. That's the power of the desert. To where we can learn to not only just survive, but in that inconvenience we become resourceful and grow and learn to thrive. And when we enter those climates and times, we're well adapted to them because we've gone through them before. We've walked through them over the ages. We've gone from faith to faith, from glory to glory. That's the whole point of that passage, is we've gone from steps to steps. We've gotten bigger, we've gotten stronger because we've learned how to adapt in those climates. We learned how to survive in the wilderness, and it has taught us how to thrive in the wilderness. So, I speak to you. Learn the basics. Get into the wilderness. Find yourself a wilderness. Find yourself a quiet place for a while. And learn to survive with thoughts you're not comfortable with. Learn to survive with things that you never thought were even possible. But the more that you work with them, the more that you adapt to them, the stronger you become, and the more you will thrive in those things. Learning new things, growing in things. The desert is a valuable place to be. Do not despise humble beginnings. The desert, the place of humility, the place of humble beginnings, the place of the mouth where God speaks. Get into a place, a quiet place. find your desert and learn to thrive.